our family's favorite spaghetti sauce. And I'm making this video for my son who would like to know how to make this while he's at his new apartment. So the first things that we'll need before we get started is go ahead and gather up ground beef, any kind you like. Minced garlic, you can also use fresh. Onion powder. This is my little container of onion powder. Oops, sorry. Parmesan cheese. 2 8-ounce cans of tomato sauce. Tomato paste, 1 can. Olive oil. Salt and pepper. First thing I'm going to do is brown the ground beef. So I like to brown the ground beef, and I use about an 85 or an 80%. 85 is probably better because you get to keep more of the meat. And you get a little bit of fat from it as well. So I like to chop this up really quick for fast cooking. And just for a little bit of flavor layering, I like to add a little bit of my seasonings to the meat even before I add it to the sauce itself. So I'm just adding about a ½ teaspoon of onion powder just to give it a little bit of flavor. A pinch or 2 of salt, and I use Himalayan sea salt, but you can use any. A little bit of pepper. And I think I'm going to saute this a little with a little bit of garlic. I don't know, just maybe a teaspoon. And I don't really, I'm sure everybody knows how to brown ground beef. I don't want to do it too high. I'm hoping it won't get oil splatters on the camera. But I'm just going to chop it up really small for a more even distribution in the sauce. And for quicker cooking. This recipe was given to me by a friend years and years ago, and before that I had been trying a billion different kinds of recipes to do spaghetti sauce, and I just couldn't get it right. And you know, while the rest of my family was fine with it, my son was the final word in it, in whether or not a recipe was good to keep, was a keeper recipe for the family. So this is the recipe that that he chose, and it's been our keeper recipe for a good long time. It's the one we're used to, and where we used to use like Prego and Classico and all those kinds of sauces from the store, ragu and all those, and we like those better than homemade. Now it's really hard for us to open up a jar of that and eat those kinds because we're so used to our own family recipe. I don't know what the sound's going to come out to like. I hope it's not terrible or too clangy. So we're going to let this brown for a little bit longer. And I'm going to open the pans. This is smelling so good. It really does make a difference adding those extra spices to the meat. See how quickly it's browning when you chop it up really small? Sometimes if I get lazy and don't chop it up really small, I end up with parts that are more done. But I really prefer it like this. We'll give it another minute or so. Okay, next, it looks pretty done. It's okay if it's not completely done because it's going to simmer in the sauce. But what we want to do right now is remove the meat from the pan. Just set it aside in another pan. Don't worry about draining it. It's fine if you don't. We're not even going to take the fat out. So this is the reason why I said that I like to use 85% fat. Because you get enough to coat the bottom of the pan, but not to make a puddle in the pan, like if you were to use 73% fat ground beef. If you are going to use a anything over an 85 or 90, you may want to add a little bit of fat in the form of olive oil or something like that, more than what I'm going to tell you to add for the sauce. But you'll have to just gauge that when you're making it, just to see if that's necessary or not. Okay, I'm going to add first to the pan that I didn't drain. I'm going to add the tomato paste. If I could get the lid off. Okay. And the reason why I want to add this first is because it's so thick. You can see how thick it is. It's so thick that it really needs to be broken up a little bit, warmed up a little. And, okay, so turn the fire back on. I'm going to turn it on medium, really. The thing about making spaghetti sauce is that it wants to, if it starts boiling, it wants to splash you. And it really hurts. Okay, so I'm going to break this up just a little bit. Sometimes this needs a can of the tomato sauce to break up a little better, and a whisk. So I'm going to add that tomato sauce, and just don't throw away the tomato sauce can yet. Just set it aside. I'll tell you why later. So I'm going to whisk this and just kind of break up the big parts. The loose tomato sauce helps to loosen the tomato paste from getting stuck inside of the whisk. And once it starts to look like it's loosening up a bit and incorporating together, I'm going to add the next tomato sauce. And so we'll get this in here and just whisk it. Not enough to splash yourself, but just, you know, enough to get it incorporated together until it starts looking smooth. Okay. Next, I'm going to add about a teaspoon of onion powder. Onion powder makes everything better. So if you ever are making anything that would taste good with onions, of course, and it's missing something, try to add a little bit of onion powder. Okay, and about a teaspoon of salt. The Himalayan sea salt, or I'm sorry, the Himalayan salt, I've noticed, is a lot less salty flavored. So if you try to use it and you feel like it's not as salty, that's because it isn't. I've noticed that. But I like it better because it has a lot of minerals and things that are stripped out when, you know, of table salt. Although it doesn't have iodine, so if you have an issue with that, you're going to need to add iodine. Okay, I'm adding about a tablespoon of garlic, minced garlic. Okay, so here my sauce has been all mixed together. All the ingredients are in here. I'm not sure when my camera stopped taping, so I'm just showing you the finished product here. And it looks wonderful. And I'm going to put it on a back burner on medium, bring it to a boil. And once it's boiling, I'm going to turn it down to low. And then I'm going to cover it and let it simmer for about 30 minutes.